very, very busy couple of weeks, including this morning. Pretty heavy news. Pretty heavy news.
Would you say it's heavy news? Or can we blow this off?
I would say it's heavy news. Welcome to Manopera. I'm Chris, and can I introduce you?
Well, fine. Go
okay. Fighting out of the Dudley Moon Colony, from Dudleyville, USA, Spaceman Frank Dudley. How was that?
Devon, get the lawyers.
So explain to me this revelation that you found in conjunction with your new gimmick.
So, I don't really cut my hair. I let it grow out, and then I shave it buzz cut, and then I'm done for 3 or 4 months. So I go through these cycles, and then yesterday I'm like, oh, I have too much fucking hair. I'm gonna shave it all off. I was wearing a tie-dye t-shirt, and I got a nice pair of thick black glasses on. And I look, I'm like, holy shit, I am the son of Bubba Ray Dudley.
Wow.
I just noticed it. I've kind of talked about, yeah, I'll be like Bubba Ray Dudley for Halloween. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I look like I could be his son. So now I'm Spaceman Frank Dudley from the Dudleyville Moon Center.
So your backstory is that you were an only child living with your mother for God knows how many years, and you had the dream of becoming an astronaut. But when you finally became an astronaut, you felt that there was something more. There was something missing. And oddly enough, you ended up working on the Dudley Moon Colony on the moon, of all places. And there you realized that your true father is Bubba Ray Dudley. And now you've come back to Earth to find your long-lost dad and say, Dad, what the hell happened?
How could you let this happen, Dad? The moon colony was a terrible idea. You can't just have a bunch of clones of the lesser Dudleys in charge.
Oh, that's what happened? There were clones on the moon colony?
Yup, it's just all the different Dudleys clones. They're all the different classes of workers. Your sign guy Dudleys are obviously in charge of information. Dances with Dudleys, does janitorial duties. Big Dick Dudley is security. And, of course, the actual real Dudleys are the ones in charge.
But they're not on the actual moon.
No, they teleconference it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
A lot of them don't have a lot of money. So they can't make frequent trips to the moon.
Well, right. So basically you're returning to Earth to basically achieve what you feel is your destiny? And become a professional wrestler alongside your father?
Mm-hmm. And, if I get a piece of that sweet, moon pie.
Oh, boy. Well, let's actually start this here. Tremendously heavy news today. In addition to Cody Rhodes, his wife, Eden, leaving as well, which makes sense because there's, where do you go when your husband leaves? You should probably go with your husband, so that's a good woman there. Good for Cody. They're going to be doing a brand split again.
With a question mark at the end. It's hey, that's kind of a cool idea, but this could also be terrible.
Exactly. I'm not... I hope for good things. I think it could be a step in the right direction. I think what the issue was that when they sort of officially ended the brand split 2 years ago, which I want to say sort of officially because realistically it ended a while before that. I would say it ended probably around 2011 or something, 2010 effectively, but they still kind of kept things going just to give some meaning to some undercard guys.
once people could just kind of show up on Raw or SmackDown, it was effectively ended.
Yeah, but they still kind of acted as if it was still a thing.
Yeah.
So they're going back to it, which means now they're going to have to create a new title for the heavyweight division of SmackDown, so they'll have to split the title again. So we went from all that... I don't know.
I had a different theory.
Well, what's your theory?
Alright, my theory is, the little bit I've thought about it, like, kind of like fantasy booking a split roster is, I would have the champion work both shows like before, but, like, he'd alternate, like, who would be challenging for the belt. Like, you know, one pay-per-view, there's a challenger from Raw, and next one there's a challenger from SmackDown. So, like, instead of, like, a title for one show, you could have, like, a number one contendership match. So it's, like, you can still have something of importance going on. And then, you know, obviously US Intercontinental split them on 2 different shows. And I would have, like, tag teams on Raw and then women on SmackDown, so they each have their own unique flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, like, if you split women in tag teams, like, between the 2 shows, but they don't have belts to go for, like, there's no point.
Right, and they'll get more time being on separate shows as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a bad idea.
All the women on SmackDown with the belt, and that's, like, an exclusive thing, as opposed to having the belt on one show, and then a bunch of women on, like, the different show where they're just there. You know,
right.
Actually fighting over nothing.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you would have that. You would have the World Heavyweight Champion moving from brand to brand and just defending it either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense, actually. I actually hope that your idea actually is closer to what they end up doing.
Yeah, they'll probably fuck it up.
Yeah, I don't see... I mean, they're still going to keep the 3-hour Raws, but SmackDowns are now going to be live on Tuesdays every week now.
Which is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I'd actually be motivated to watch SmackDown more.
Yeah, plus The Flash's season finale was yesterday, and I haven't gotten around to watching it, so now I have nothing to watch for about 6 months on Tuesdays. So, that'll do a body good.
There you go. You have something going on. You can give it a shot and then be like, nope, time for The Flash.
Yes, or I could at least watch it for breakfast on Wednesdays.
Gotta go fast.
But yeah, we've got that going on. They're going to be doing a draft again. I'm sure that this is probably to offset the Shane Stephanie thing, and that's probably where it's going to be culminating.
Oh yeah, because they already released a video teasing that one of them's going to get one show, and they're fighting over SmackDown. It's just yes, you're all fighting over who gets SmackDown. I'm sure that's the case. You definitely don't want to run Raw.
That's what the problem is. They don't nobody. It's nobody wants to run Raw because Raw is just too wonky.
I want to run SmackDown, so I have one less hour of work to do a week.
And naturally, people are now pissed off at Cody Rhodes. Apparently, these are dirt sheet things, so you don't know how mad they are. But I'm sure it's just the people that he called out saying, I think he said that the head writer of Raw basically was pretending to be Brian Gewirtz, and the head writer of SmackDown, who was formerly the head writer of NXT, is just hitting on developmental divas all the time.
Yeah, and it sucks too, because you would think if there was any time Cody Rhodes would be champion, would be in a brand split era, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it just seemed like people didn't really care for what he wanted to do, and they just kind of were like, okay, well, you've been here 10 years, we don't really have to listen to you, which is a shame, but it kind of, according to what he wrote, that seems like that's the way it was going, was that they just kind of were like, all right, well, you're old, we're focusing on new guys now, so we're just going to keep you to do whatever you want to do, which I think that they should have. I think, honestly, the Stardust gimmick should have only lasted about, 6 months, maybe into SummerSlam, and had him face Goldust again whenever they came back or whatever for Goldust to stop him from being Stardust at a major pay-per-view, and if Goldust won, he would stop, or it wouldn't even be that case. I think that the storyline that they should have gone through with which they started and stopped a bunch of times, was Goldust versus Cody as Stardust. And, with Goldust defeating him, and I think in the end, it should have just been the two brothers finally embracing. And the next night on Raw, they're back together as the Brotherhood, maybe going for the tag team titles or something like that. But we never got that payoff. And it's a shame, because it could have become something great. But it just took a back seat.
Yeah, definitely a wasted opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And, what was I going to say? Alright. I had to think about it for a second. But it's a shame, because now he could have been world champion, like I said, most likely if they do split the championships up. But I'm sure he's going to do fine elsewhere. I'm sure TNA's just like, oh my god, please.
I would not, you do not want to be in TNA right now with how convoluted things are going. Honestly, I could see him being great in Ring of Honor.
But don't you want a Cody Reynolds versus Ryborg match in the Impact Zone?
Oh, Jesus.
Although it sounds like they don't want him working anywhere else as long as his contract is valid. So they're like, oh, you can leave, but you can't work anywhere else.
Well, no, that's usually in their contracts. There's usually a no compete clause for 90 days or something like that.
I heard they want to keep him as long as his contract is for. He essentially quit and took his ball and went home, but they haven't released him from his contract.
Right. At this point, they're just paying him to stay home, and they're figuring, all right, well, maybe if he takes a couple of months off, and then he'll come back and he'll re-sign before his contract is up, which is not uncommon for people to do. So I could definitely see why, because he's a big guy. He's marketable for sure if done properly. I mean, when they were really doing the right things with him, his merch was flying off the shelves. He wasn't number 1 or number 2, but he was up there. He was at least in the top 5 a lot of times. So they know that they can do something with him, but it's really a two-way street. So you have to wonder what he's thinking, and maybe he's hoping that they can come to an agreement over time. So
the other thing too is he was one of those guys who made a lot of, as he said, chicken shit into chicken salad. And it's having a mustache as your gimmick kind of made that work. A lot of Rhodes Scholars.
Oh, I was talking about Ryback.
Oh.
Yeah, Cody Rhodes is fine.
Whoops. But still.
He's released. There's just a 90-day no-compete clause for most talents.
Well, same thing pretty much applies to Ryback, except not quite to the same degree.
Yeah, because Cody's been at every show. Ryback just is staying the hell home.
Mm-hmm. But we'll see what happens. I saw that tweet where he's like, "Who wants to see Ryborg in the Impact Zone?" And then EC3 was just like, "Oh shit."
Also, Adam Rose was released from his contract, which after the whole assault thing, I could have seen that coming, but I feel like he asked for his release after that happened, because the writing was very clear that it was on the wall, where it was right around the time they were doing their releases. They weren't really doing anything with him anyway when he was on the roster, and with all of this conflict that he's been going through at home and the suspension and all that, it just seemed like push was coming to shove, and he had to kind of call an audible and say, listen, you know what? I don't think this is the place where I should be right now.
Yeah. Plus, you can't bring down the social outcast. I mean, they're having a rough go as it is.
Oh boy, those poor SOBs. I hope something comes out of this for them.
I heard a hot rumor that they might be the filling it in tag team challengers for the New Day until SummerSlam. Like, to plug them in and have them feud until the big show.
I wouldn't mind that. It'd be something for them to do, and it'd still keep the division relevant. I mean, it'd be obvious that they're not going to win, but nobody cares, because that's kind of their shtick, is that they don't win. They're Job Squad 2.0, and everyone loves them for that.
And, you know, I saw on WWE Game Night the epic dodgeball match they had between the New Day and the Social Outcasts.
Oh, Jesus. I hope that the up, down, down stuff can be in the video, in the promo package.
Oh, my God. I feel like they would make that tag team feud work. It's just like, yeah, we know who's going to win.
Yeah. Plus, your boy Heath Slater took a cake to the face on Monday.
Pretty much, like the ultimate sign that you're down on the card.
And
like,
Byron Saxton wanted to know whether or not it was gluten-free.
Yeah, fuck you, bro. Didn't JBL scream like, I'm diabetic?
Yes, JBL is a diabetic, apparently.
How did that happen?
I don't know how that happened.
Oh my God. But, it's, you know, it's a thing. You know, I would like to see the Social Outcasts have something meaningful. And they're another team, if they stay together, where a bland... Oh my God, I keep wanting to say bland split. Brand split works out.
Yeah,
But
it could give them promo time, for sure.
I can just see on the draft, and they're like, who gets Roman Reigns? Who will get Roman Reigns? And it's like, oh no, we both accidentally drafted Roman Reigns. Now he's going to have to be on both shows. Fuck.
I didn't end up watching the McFoley Shane McMahon podcast because I just didn't have time to do so. But from the highlights that I read, it didn't seem as if there was really too much that was like anything like, oh wow. It was mostly just a bunch of funny stories from what I was reading of the highlights and how Shane was basically dedicating his entire life to this and how he wanted to do football and do this. It was basically just Shane McMahon, the documentary, not documentary. Without any video. It was just the Shane McMahon conversation. Like, it's like if someone was going to write his book and they sat down and they did the rough 1 hour, 2 hour interview just to start the first couple of chapters of the book. It sounds like that's what that was.
Yeah.
Not terrible, but again, it wasn't as revealing as they made it seem like it would be. At least from what I can gather.
And, you know, Mick Foley, I don't think is the guy to answer or to ask the hard-hitting questions.
No, I don't think I think Mick Foley is more like the guy you hang out with than like who you would hope would never ask you hard-hitting questions. Like if you had a drug addiction, the last person to do an interview with you that would ask that you would hope would not ask about the drug addiction would be him. Like I can't picture Mick Foley just being like, so you had troubles with heroin.
So Shane, do you want to elaborate on your relationship, your troubles? He's like, no, I'm good. He's like, all right.
Yeah, at that point it would just be like, okay, let's make fun of Al Snow.
Yeah, exactly. Let's keep it light.
The Raw viewership, it went up slightly with the big return of Seth Rollins at Extreme Rules, which I think possibly saved the finish of that match.
Yeah, it was gonna be a pretty, it would have been pretty. It was a good match, but it would have been pretty forgettable.
It was a very
Seth is back.
Yeah, it was a very good match, but I think that the finish should have involved the brothers turning on Styles at the end of after him losing, and I also think, for the love of God, one spear I think was kind of bullshit. After taking insurmountable punishment, possibly, he took like 11 chair shots, 2 Styles clashes, one of them on a chair. It's like, and then of course kicks out of all of them. And does that? Honestly, why couldn't it? Like, I don't see the problem. I don't have a problem with his wrestling ability. I was there, so a lot of people were chanting, "You can't wrestle." The guy can wrestle. He's gotten much better from when he was in the Shield and he basically did nothing for every match until the finish, but people would pop then because all of his weaknesses were hidden. But when they became apparent, it was apparent of, how green he still was, and now he's gotten much better 2 years later. I have no issues with the man's talent or his wrestling ability or his look or anything like that. His talking still needs some work, but he's getting better because the tweener thing is helping him. But you have to humanize the character. If you want people to have a certain reaction, you have to humanize him or dehumanize them if you're going to be a heel. Like if he was a heel right now, people would boo the shit out of him probably, and that would be the direction that they want him to go. They would want him to get booed because he would be the heel. Because right now, they're booking him as a heel basically, except they don't want people to boo him.
Yeah, and it's like, well, AJ made him look like $1 million.
Oh yeah, AJ. Listen, AJ. He is phenomenal. No pun intended. He's great. But again, you have to humanize all of your characters. Otherwise, it takes the believability out of the match. If all of that is going to happen to you, and then you're just going to beat somebody with a half-assed version of your finish, and it's the only time that you're hitting the finish, that's kind of lame. Or at least have a foot on the rope thing, because sometimes they do enforce that in Extreme Rules matches.
Although, did AJ ever hit a phenomenal forearm?
No, he didn't. He didn't hit a phenomenal forearm. I mean, unless you want to count the diving forearms over the top rope, but he didn't hit a phenomenal forearm. He was going for it.
So I feel like the WWE is treating that as the finishing move, as opposed to the Styles Clash is just a signature. Because I think he only beat Curtis Axel with it, so maybe that was the logic.
Yeah, he beat Curtis Axel, and I think he may have beat Jericho with it once.
And it's just maybe that's what they're going with, even though the Styles Clash is one of the more dangerous moves in the WWE.
It is one of the most dangerous moves ever if the receiving opponent does not pull their head back when they take it.
Yeah, and plus too, didn't he have the calf crusher, and he never seems to do it that often?
Yeah, they gave him the calf crusher, and they didn't, and they stopped with that for some reason. I would have liked to have seen him use that as well, but then again, you have to sell it when someone's doing that, and they would probably just tell Roman to no sell it.
Do his weird Shaka Bra face, and when he went for that pin, he's just yeah, Shaka Bra. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, and I don't really like the use of... I don't like the way that he does the sit-out powerbomb. I like the powerbomb part. I don't like the sit-out part. I think that it would look better if he just did a flat-out powerbomb.
Yeah.
But that's just a minor critique, and it wouldn't make a difference. I'm not a wrestler, so what the hell do I know? But... Extreme Rules, I thought overall was a pretty decent pay-per-view. I think the bar was set very high at the beginning. Well, not on the pre-show though. Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler's match it wasn't a bad match if it was a normal match, but the fact that it was a no DQ match and there were no weapons, Baron Corbin didn't really look like a monster like they should have made him look. He didn't lay waste to Ziggler. He didn't do anything dastardly except for a low blow, which was in the referee's plain sight, where if that was the one no DQ thing that you could have done, that's kind of a moot point, because they could have just booked a normal match and had the ref not see it. So I think that, and also he's fighting Ziggler again next week on Raw in what's billed as a technical match. So I don't know. Please give this man another person to fight. It's not that I don't like Ziggler, because everybody loves Ziggler, but we don't want to see something so often repeated. I get it that this is probably the rubber match, hopefully, but it's time to move on. You're not going to make this. You're not going to make this guy a star if you're going to keep having him face the same guy over and over again. And with the way that they do things with even Steven booking, you're never going to build a star.
It seemed like, in my mind, Corbin was feuding with Ziggler all the time because Ziggler has an amazing set of hair, and Corbin's rapidly losing his. So in my mind, he's secretly like taking out his frustration with male pattern baldness on Ziggler.
Why don't they just have a hair match? That actually wouldn't be bad if they did a hair match. That would be a great blowover to the feud, but it wouldn't help Corbin because it wouldn't make sense for him to win.
And plus, like, he's too new for like having a hair match where he like just debuted and like a couple months later it's like, all right, now we're shaving him and giving him a different look.
Yeah, I don't mean like now, but I mean it eventually it's probably going to have to come to that.
Bad.
Yeah.
When it starts getting, when it's just like, oh my god, what the fuck?
Yeah. And then for match 2, we had the Club, who basically just, you know, they have a treehouse with AJ Styles up until Monday, where there's a no girls allowed club. Like, honestly, I'm picturing the WWE's version of the Bullet Club as a Calvin and Hobbes comic strip.
It's like, they called it the Club. Finn's got his Baylor Club. Having them as two separate things doesn't make sense if you're just gonna call it the Club. Right.
Like, you shouldn't call it anything if it is eventually going to be the Baylor Club. Like, it shouldn't really have a name for now, I think.
That little backstage vignette at Extreme Rules where AJ was like, I'm gonna go and give 110%, and I'm gonna go out there, and it doesn't matter if my boys are there or not. And he goes into the dressing room called the Club. I really want him to open the door, and then all of a sudden you just hear like, boom, 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 like it's an actual club. But it's like, yeah, now it's like, now we're officially not friends anymore. And they're like, oh,
it was such a weak way to do that. Like,
we just watched them break up, guys.
Yeah, I wanted to see them just turn on him and just start beating the shit out of him because the moment was appropriate. He was just about to have a qualifying match for the Money in the Bank, them beating him down, and then Owens coming to pick up the pieces, and then beating him clean would have made Styles look better. I have no issues with their match. Their match was great. But I think that the finish should have had some involvement from the brothers.
Yeah. Plus, the other thing too is, you know, if you're gonna do a breakup angle, there has to be something. Like, you can't just be like, we're not friends, and it's like, oh, all right.
I know what they're like. I get what they're doing. That they're doing the slow build of the turn. But if you're doing that, don't make it be so obvious.
Yeah. Plus, like, it's kind of been teasing, like, because they're like, we're gonna help AJ. AJ's like, I don't want your help. I'm like, well, we're gonna help you anyway. And he's like, all right, I guess I'll accept your help. Now it's like, all right, now, you know, I'm just sick of it. You guys need to go away. He's like, oh man, but come on, buddy. Like, we're doing you a favor. It's like, they got a point. They're helping him out a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's not making AJ look like cool. it's just making him look like, guys, I really don't need this. It's almost like when your dad is in charge of like a big company and all you have to do is just graduate college. It doesn't matter how crappy your grades are, you just have to graduate college. And then your dad will give you some kind of executive high-paying position at his company, and you're like, Dad, I really don't want this job.
In my mind, AJ is that shitty friend who doesn't want to be friends with you anymore, but he doesn't want to tell you. So he's hoping that, like, if he just never hangs out with you, you get the message. And Anderson are like, what do you want to do? But he's like, oh, I'm busy.
Oh, I do that to people.
You're AJ Styles in the equation.
I'm AJ Styles. It's not a bad thing to be AJ Styles.
It's just like, you know, he kind of was like, well, maybe we should not hang out so much anymore on Raw. And I'm like, come on. I just want to be your friend, buddy.
Yeah, think of all those bar fights they helped out.
Think of all those times in Japan I assume you had.
But now it makes me wonder if he's like, if once he starts drinking, he's a handful. Because the way that they worded it, it seems like AJ Styles goes to Japan and gets hammered a lot. And every time he gets hammered, he happens to get into a fight.
It's a long plane ride.
I bet. It's no plane ride from hell, but it's quite a plane ride.
But that match was decent, and the club, actually won, and no one likes the Usos anymore, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, I feel bad because they're good guys, they're good wrestlers and everything. It's just the association with Reigns has a stigma now.
Plus, it's like they don't have a personality, and then when you divide them up in two, since they look exactly the same, and it's just they don't really get a chance to show any personality. So whatever they have is cut in between them. It's just two good workers,
right?
Who have face paint.
Right. They need to develop them a little bit better as individuals, not as in workers. I mean, as in personality as well. Which they were initially doing when they were feuding with Kid and Cesaro before the whole injury thing happened with everyone. So I think maybe we could go back to something like that. But it was a well-worked match. We all had a blast. The right people went over. It kept everyone engaged. And tornado matches are cool because you don't really see them often. So I thought that was a nice touch. And then we had Rusev with Lana defeating Kalisto, becoming the new United States champion, and I thought that was the right move because Rusev needs to be built back into the unstoppable foreign killing machine that he is. And Kalisto's run was fine with the title, but I just wish that they had done something to build the title up more instead of relegating him to the pre-show, which I feel like that was to slight Ryback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much my feeling too.
Because on the few feuds that he had before that, it wasn't a pre-show match, the United States title. It was a regular card match. So I feel like the Ryback thing was due to Ryback being, just getting on Vince's nerves.
But, the right man won. Kalisto made it seem like Rusev was pretty much breaking him in half.
Yeah, great selling in that match. Plus, when Rusev locks when he locks the accolade on Kalisto, it's very Sheik-like.
He literally just bent him in two.
Yeah, it really makes you sympathize with Kalisto with the way that he's able to do it. It's like your body really. It's like I know whenever someone applies a submission hold, the commentators say your body's not meant to bend that way. But with Kalisto, it's like yes, I know that. Like looking at it hurts me, and that's how it should be done. Every submission hold should look like it hurts. Like I should feel pain by watching it. That's how you sell a move properly.
Yeah, and plus now, hopefully we get Kalisto and Sin Cara separated maybe by the brand split. Because at this point, I don't want to see him just go back to a no direction tag team. He's already had a singles run. Let him keep pursuing that.
Right, because I feel like I don't mind Hunigo in the Sin Cara role, but they're not doing anything with Sin Cara. So Sin Cara is more of a crutch at this point.
And plus, from what I understand from the SmackDown spoilers, they're hinting at a Rusev versus my boy Big Deal Titus O'Neil.
Oh,
it's like yeah,
cool.
But then it's like, oh, what's Kalisto gonna do? It's like Titus was like, hey man, I'll challenge you for the belt, and Rusev's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And,
well, speaking of Prime,
Cena shows up.
Then
they could feud until Cena shows up and ruins Rusev's life again.
Oh, I hope that they don't go that route again. Once was painful enough.
Yeah, just keep him away.
Please keep him. Yes, keep him away from this feud. If anything, don't let Cena challenge Rusev again until he's heavyweight champion.
If anything, have him challenge for the IC belt, because I think that's the only belt Cena hasn't won. So that's like,
Oh, yeah, that would make
Grand Slam
sense.
champion. And he could go after
The Miz.
The Miz.
Okay.
That great feud.
No, I'm sure they could actually pull off something good.
Well, I would just have flashbacks of Mania.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't entirely anyone's fault, but...
It was The Rock's fault.
Well, it was The Rock's fault, but that's okay. We got the twice-in-a-lifetime out of it.
Mm-hmm. And then the third match was the IC belt.
No. The third match was the tag team championships match, which surprised me. And it surprised everybody in the audience because as soon as we saw the New Day show up and Xavier Woods, my main man X Wood, was tagging with Big E, everyone saw that and were like, okay, title change. X Wood's gonna get the pin, and X Wood did get the pin, but the winning pin, which shocked everyone. Because every time, just about it, because the first time that they lost was one of the few times, and most times when they lose, it's when X Wood is part of the actual team that wrestles. And this time, he was the one that actually went over, so no one was expecting that. And as usual, my man performed well and stole the show and made everyone look like $1 million. I thought it was weird that the Vaudevillains whirling dervish finish was already killed, but I guess their finish is now going to be that suplex powerbomb thing that they did to the New Day on Raw in the weird time machine segment.
But the whirling dervish, I mean, it has such a great name.
I know.
You know what I mean? But I saw that too, and I was like, oh, okay. I guess that just happened.
Yeah. Well, I do like that new suplex powerbomb thing. It just takes a while to set up. Where the whirling dervish is just vicious.
I also like X Woods, like, finishing, definitely not the Kinshasa, but, kind of the sliding knee to the face.
Yeah, no one expected that. No one expected, some weird variation of the Shining Wizard.
Yeah, it looked brutal.
Yeah. So, good for him.
And Big E putting them hoes in the ground.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. I was watching that with my dad, and he's just like, what the hell?
With your pizza and milk?
Yup. I was just like, what? Oh my god. Big E never changed.
I hope he gets a run with the world title one day, and he can be like the goofy champion.
That would be so great. I'm ready for him because he was already IC champion, but that was like ages and ages ago.
Yeah.
And I'd be okay with a Big E singles run if he won a championship and the New Day were like his support. I would be okay with that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. So no issues with that, and then we had the match of the night.
Oh yeah.
With the Fatal 4-Way match for the Intercontinental Championship. Was not expecting it to start off with Zayn giving a haluva kick to Owens immediately, which was great.
I liked it though,
because this match was booked solely around psychology. It told a fantastic story. The Miz was smarmy the entire time, trying to just pick apart whoever was down, being a good heel in the match.
Using Maurice.
Yes, using his wife as bait, going after whoever else is there, being a vulture heel and picking up the pieces. I felt bad that Cesaro was there, but I felt like if the title wasn't going to change, Cesaro was the man that was going to get the pin, and that's exactly what happened. Owens and Zayn still fighting on the outside, and that's what costs Zayn the title. Good storytelling. Lots of a giant spot fest, but all of them were well timed. You didn't get oversaturated with spot after spot. They took enough time in between to let you catch a breather. And this went on this was actually the longest match. No, it wasn't. This was the third longest match of the night at 18:18. But it was a roller coaster, and everyone loved this match.
And my boy Miz won, which I was happy he won because, like, otherwise, what's the Miz gonna do? Like,
Right. I also thought that he was the guy that needed to win too.
And I loved his on the pre-show. He had his monologue, and like that music playing as he's just copying the Miracle on Ice movie.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh my god, that's fucking perfect for him. And then like he's like, oh, I need to do that again, so he rushes through it a second time. It's like, oh my god. And then I love the spot too where he was in the sharpshooter and he went for the rope break, but it's like it's no DQ, like, or it's, so he's like, oh fuck. So then he grabs Maurice and she gets dragged into the ring. So then, like that's the way he distracted the ref. I'm like, oh my god, that's perfect.
Yeah, just being so cowardly. It was good. He's really doing such a great job. And at this hopefully, I mean, at least at this point, I think that this is my favorite run with a title that he's had since he was U.S. champion way back in the day.
He's killing it. Maybe it's because his wife is there, and he's like, "Oh shit, I got."
I think that's a huge part to it, because like we talked about a few weeks ago. It gives him more heat, and it gives him more to do with his character. Where, yeah, it's like okay, he's going around saying that he's an A-list celebrity, but the only movies that he's actually been in are WWE's movies, and they've all been sequels to something else or a Christmas movie for ABC or the Hallmark Channel, which nobody really cares about. So you didn't really believe it for a while, even though he was still. It was like, yeah, okay, this guy's not really the movie star that he thinks he is. He's just kind of a dick. But then he brings in his wife, who is smoking hot, and it's like, oh god. So he's a huge douche, and he has a super hot wife, and he's definitely a millionaire because you will still get paid a crazy amount of money for doing a bad movie if it's on a major network or whatever, plus reruns and all that other crap. So it's like he's not really in A-list movies, but now people are like, it gets you to buy into what he's selling, which is great. And he continues to be this huge super douche.
And he's going to be a reality TV star soon because Maurice is joining Total Divas.
Oh, jeez. So he'll be a reality TV star yet again. So it's good because it gives you more reasons to hate a guy who is supposed to be hated. He might be the only legitimate heel on the roster at this point.
Pretty much, like, it's, you know, the only one he's supposed to be getting boos. Although, like, there's still certain people who can actually get the boos, like Seth Rollins, who went from, like, super babyface to, like, immediately, like, oh, we still hate you!
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe I felt bad for you!
Yeah. It was great how he turned it around. Like, I had no issues with him still being a heel. I thought that, yeah, he should come back as a babyface, but they weren't doing any vignettes for him, really, to make it seem like, like they were just showing things here and there on Progress, but that's like a pretty standard procedure now. So it wasn't really, it didn't make you say, oh, well, you know, they're going to make him a face. Not like how when Triple H came back for one of the Royal Rumble, I think it was Royal Rumble 2002, when he came back after the torn quad and they did the whole package and everything to build him up as, you know, as a face coming back, where Rollins, it was just, okay, well, he's getting better. So it didn't really allude to whether or not he was going to be a heel or a face. And, you know, the crowd popping is just simply because Reigns is the champion, and for the most part, we don't want him there, which not because of his ability, but because of the way that his character has just been booked, where we just need something fresh because we don't want John Cena 2.0. We already saw that. Like, that's been going on for about, 10 years now. Nobody wants to see another version of that.
Plus, too, the other thing is, like, it's funny that the guy we're supposed to hear gets booed, and the guy we're supposed to boo gets a huge face pop when he comes back from his knee injury and has, like, a legitimate reason for wanting the belt back. It's like, yeah, but then it's like, no, you gotta boo this guy.
Yeah.
And Seth is like, oh, I can do that.
Yep. And he turned it around by basically using by using a lot of things that the internet was saying to his advantage, which is a smart way to do that, because immediately you hit the IWC right in the balls.
That's the best way to have them turn against you. Like, you son of a bitch. We trusted you.
Yeah, as soon as he was like, you guys all sent me flowers, you sent me cards, you did all this, I just didn't have any time to look at it. Oh wait, the reason why I didn't have any time was because I burned all of it.
I was just like, yes, that's perfect. Alright, so...
I would like to say, as we were leaving the arena, there were huge chants of CrossFit Jesus.
Yes, perfect. CrossFit apparently saves the day.
I guess. I still won't try it because people get hurt a lot. And I've been training with my little brother for the past couple of weeks, who is a collegiate athlete. He played for Castleton University at the state of Vermont for about a year. So he's been showing me all these crazy workouts, and he played football all 4 years in high school. So he's been showing me all these different exercises and things like that, and all the ones that I was previously doing when I was just going to the gym by myself. A lot of them I didn't know I was doing them wrong. So it makes a huge difference, but I still won't do CrossFit because I don't want to start doing it and then realize that I was doing it wrong, because the way that you find out that you're doing something wrong in CrossFit is you get hurt really badly.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Like, people are like, it'll get you in really good shape, or it'll ruin your body for the rest of your life.
Exactly. So no thank you, CrossFit. I'll do it the old-fashioned way. It'll take longer, but I just have to stay dedicated.
And then we had the Asylum match,
where I think the dip started to happen in this event. I'm honestly, as soon as they brought the cage down, first I was like, okay, cool, they're gonna have a cage match. And then when I saw all the gimmicks on it, I said, oh no.
Yeah, this match dragged.
Yes, they should have gotten 10 minutes less. At least 5 minutes less for sure. And it should not have followed the... I don't know... It should not have followed the Intercontinental Championship match. Honestly, it should have probably followed either the tag match or the United States Championship match.
Like, it's just like, they have all these things, and are we supposed to take this stuff seriously? Because it seems like they're just goofing off.
Right, and the feud was not booked so hot where it was, hey, I have a talk show. Hey, well, actually, your talk show got canceled, and now I have the spot in my own talk show. Oh, yeah? Well, that's bullshit. Okay, well, I don't care. This is my show. Don't take it up with me. I don't make the rules. Well, I'm gonna take it up with you anyway, and now I'm gonna break your potted plant. Oh, no, not my potted plant.
It's just Dean Ambrose being like, I'm crazy. And
Yeah.
You're silly. You're just silly, Dean.
Yeah, they went from having him. I don't know. They've just really missed the mark on his character. Because I get it. Yeah, he's a lunatic, but he's not a lunatic like how Mick Foley just was in the fact that he had no regard for his own body and was willing to do anything to make sure that his opponent suffered more than he did. This is just, I'm crazy, like you said.
And, like, it's dumb, too, because it's like, the first thing they go for is a mop. And I'm like, I'm sure getting hit with a mop hurts. But it's just like, oh, here comes the mop. And that's like nunchucks. And I like Jericho being like, what are you gonna do with those? What are you, dumb? You know? You fucking idiot.
Yeah,
and
it's...
like, he actually could use nunchucks. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure nunchucks also hurt. But it was just like, it was all for comedy.
Yeah, they used too many of the weapons for comedy where it should have been it really should have been just a raging violent match. But even in PG, like, it could still be a raging violent match. It just there's just no blood. Like, that's really it. And there's no headshots, which is fine. But it was a little too, hey, I have a weapon. Let me show the weapon to the audience. Like, I feel like, as much as I am a big psychology guy, I feel like they played too much into the psychology, and it was too... again, because they gave this match way too much time, where instead of all this, it was just, hey, let's just get every weapon. And then there's, of course, the damn potted plant, which, who the hell is that? Because Mitch the potted plant is supposed to be dead. So, apparently, this is supposed to be Mitch's brother, or sister, or dad, or mom. We don't really have a backstory on this new plant, because apparently the feud is more built around the damn potted plant than anything else, and the one weapon you don't use is the bloody potted plant.
Yeah, and going back to what you were saying before, the shut off the weapon spot, it makes sense if you're pulling out of the ring and people can't see what it is, but if it's just hanging there, like, we know what you're going to get.
Right.
We've been staring at it for 10 minutes,
Right, so I think it should have just been a normal cage match with pinfall or submission. That's really it. It should have just been a cage match where you can't win by escaping the cage. I think that would have been a much better stipulation. I see what they were trying to do, and it definitely, I could see it definitely sounding much better on paper. But it
was treated more seriously, but this was just, them fucking around.
Right. It didn't really get anywhere until the closing moments of the match, where he pulled out the thumbtacks.
I was like, alright, this just got more interesting, but they're not going to actually use the thumbtacks.
Right. I didn't think that... Nobody thought that they were actually going to use them. I was expecting them to just do what they did with the damn chainsaw and at WrestleMania and just have it be sort of there, but not actually do anything with it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Surprise, surprise, they sure as hell did.
And Jericho sold the thumbtacks really well, where it's just like, nope.
Yeah,
going.
And he sold it well the following night too, which is important.
Yeah, if you're only gonna see that like once every so often, you gotta fucking sell it.
Yeah, you can't just say, you can't just get hit with a lot of things. You can't just have like a super violent match and just be like, or have something like that happen to you and then like the following night on Raw, just be like, oh, it's cool. Like, he took the time and the importance to sell that, which was fun, which I liked.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Apollo Crews because of that, like, that lion salt botch. I hope he didn't get, hit too hard in the head or anything.
Yeah, that was a scary moment. And it's like, oh, come on, Apollo. We really want you to do good.
Yeah.
Come on, buddy.
Well, that was more of a timing issue, and I'm not sure who it was. Or maybe the spot was supposed to be something different.
Yeah. I'm gonna do my kip up now, and then Jericho's like, "Fuck your kick up."
Yeah.
Kip up. But like I said, this feud would have been better if it was more serious. But this was like the comedy match.
Unfortunately.
The New Day. The comedy gimmick match.
Yes.
They didn't even use the right gimmick in the end.
Yep.
No potted
plant. So, I as much as I like these two guys, this match, with the only exception of the finish, I can't really say that there was anything very memorable about it.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think a street fight would have been a better stipulation, but because we had already seen one of those, like, a month ago, no reason to do that. Or just a plain, again, like I said, a plain straight cage match where you could not win by escaping the cage.
Yeah. Would have fit more to their strength.
Yes, and Jericho apparently as of yesterday's SmackDown taping, the people in the Money in the Bank match are at this point Owens, Who the hell is it in there now? It's Owens, Jericho, Zayn, Cesaro, and Alberto Del Rio, and the sixth person is to be determined right now.
I'm gonna say it's John Cena. Because I think
I'm going to say that too, and he'll probably cash it in at SummerSlam. It's a very easy setup. If it's going to be John Cena, which he's coming back on Monday, so it would be very plausible that that's going to be the final qualifying match.
It would be kind of interesting, too, because, he lost his belt to Alberto Del Rio before he disappeared off TV. He had his match with Zayn, where Zayn got hurt. He had the feud with Owens. He's feuded with The Miz before. He's kind of, faced off against Cesaro a couple times, so he's kind of got history with everyone. So,
yeah, well, The Miz isn't in it.
Cool.
That's the Miz is not in the match. Because the qualifying match was The Miz versus Cesaro.
Oh, that's right. All right. I got him all mixed up.
It's okay.
There's too many names.
There are too many names. So I think we'll get a decent Money in the Bank match out of it. But Del Rio, for God's sakes, what are you doing to these poor women? Apparently he had a thing going on with Charlotte, who we will get to next. And now he's macking on Paige because he wanted a little bit of England. And it's like, dude, she's half your age. Ew, but on the flip side, it's Paige. He's half your age. Ew.
Yeah. I mean, he is a very handsome man.
He is a handsome man, but ew.
It's weird. And then is he gonna be on Total Divas? Is the supposed heat between Charlotte and Paige and everyone gonna be a plot point?
Well, apparently, according to, dirt sheet rumors, which may or may not be true, but this one seems pretty likely, Vince loves real-life drama, as everyone knows, to be used in storylines, so he wants Paige to be involved in a feud with Charlotte, after they're done with this whole Natty thing, which they might be done now, I don't really know.
But they already feuded, and it was awful.
I know. But now it's going to be, well, possibly worse. And we might see, and they'll probably shoot on each other.
They already did, though.
No, I don't mean in promos. I mean, they will not, they'll probably be extremely stiff, so it might be a good match because of the actual real-life emotions, which is probably what Vince wants to go for, but at the same time, I don't know. You could, but you probably are better off not rocking the boat too much.
I don't want to see that match again, considering the last one was it was awkward, and then there was the whole, maybe your brother didn't have a whole lot of fight in him line.
Yeah, that was messed up. And which they scrubbed because they realized, oh, that was a bad idea.
And it's let's fight over a man. It's oh no.
Yeah, please don't have that be the storyline. If he uses that as the actual storyline, then it'll just bring the women back down to being these superficial catty broads that, and it's gonna just lose the interest of the Divas Revolution or whatever you want to call it now.
Alberto's just ladies, there's plenty of Alberto for everyone.
Yeah, just bring him into that and have that happen.
And then he ends up with Dana Brooke.
Yes, because why not? Which I don't understand why that. I mean, I get it that it's something for Dana Brooke to do now that Emma's injured, but it was just so what the hell is going. It was just such a left field swerve, and not for the better. It was just, I don't know. It's first you have Dana Brooke show up as Rick, in the Ric Flair role, to confuse everyone, and then she comes out. That made sense, but then it was she just basically just aligned her with with her because she's the champ. I guess I could see that because she's power hungry, but they didn't really elaborate too much on that because it was really just Charlotte in a very lengthy promo, which I think was about 3 to 5 minutes too long. Like, we get it.
Here's my theory with the Dana Brooke Charlotte pairing. All right, as I said before, I have a little bit of an issue with Charlotte being genetically superior, and it's like, oh, let's pair her with another like tall Amazonian blonde woman who is also genetically superior if you're a Nazi. You know, like, I was just like, oh no, they had to pair with the other platinum blonde girl. Like, come on, don't.
So you think Charlotte's a Nazi?
I mean,
or the WWE booked equivalent of possibly a Nazi?
I mean, you're saying she's genetically superior and she's pretty Aryan, and then you put her with another Aryan type girl.
Yeah, it's not intentional. It didn't.
Ric Flair, Ric Fuhrer.
Okay, now you're really like that's scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Is Ric Flair Hitler?
No, Ric Flair is not Hitler.
I'm just imagining Ric Flair with a very like blonde Hitler stash.
What?
Like now it's just like now I'm like
I couldn't take that seriously. He would be like he would basically be the negative zone Hitler, but instead of like, hey, let's get rid of everyone who doesn't have blonde hair and blue eyes, to, hey guys, let's party. Drinks are on me. Like,
separate the races. Woo!
Like, yeah. Oh no. Like the closest thing to a fun version of Hitler is what you're saying that would be.
Oh my god.
And let's, for the record, Hitler was not a fun man.
He was not.
He was not fun.
And Ric Flair is definitely not Hitler.
Ric Flair is not Hitler. He is a man who has had way too much fun, way too many times.
He's too leathery to be Hitler.
Yes. Though, I mean, Charlotte's promo was fine if it wasn't for the length. Like, it told the story that it needed to tell, and it developed her as her own identity. They just spent too much. They just gave her too much time.
Too much time, and she didn't execute it as well as it could have been.
Right. Well, that was mostly because of the time.
Yeah. It's like stretch.
Yeah, I think they could have given some of that time to Dana Brooke to further explain herself, or maybe give some mic time to Rick to just kind of be like, "What are you doing?" Instead of like just telling it with his eyes. They like you need him to actually like it would have made more sense for him to actually say it so that it could have bought Charlotte more time to like instead of to not do anything instead of ramble. So I think it could have been produced a little bit better. But the point was driven home. It's nice that they're giving a lot of promo time to the women finally. I like that they're developing the characters as not these catty women, but she's starting to have her own identity. So I think they're going in the right direction. The match I thought with her and Natalya was fine, with the exception of the finish, which was just really weird and convoluted, and they didn't really give Dana Brooke enough time to explain herself, besides really just, oh, well, you're the champion, so I'm going to hang out with you, which, you know, makes sense, but she didn't really get the chance to really drive the point home.
Yeah.
And with that, she didn't really have to even do the whole Ric Flair thing. I think, honestly, it would have been better if she just ran out as herself without having to even do the Ric Flair thing.
Yeah, because it doesn't make any sense, and then it makes Natty look like an idiot when she breaks her submission hold to be like, what's all this then? It's like, no, just, you're literally staring at the entrance ramp while she's in a submission. Just stay put, and you would have won.
Right, like, you want her to like, it would have made more sense for her to have her back turned, and then Dana Brooke just does a run-in and just beats her down for a minute, because or at least distracts her, and, you know, or distracts the ref, and Natty is like, breaks the hold and is like, what the hell are you doing here? and then have Charlotte get her in the figure eight. It would have made more. I get what they were trying to do, but it would have made more sense to just do it a little more plain, like straightforward.
Mm-hmm. Plus, I had a problem with the women in general selling the submission moves. Like Natty in particular, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you don't look like you're in pain. You just look like you're peeved a little bit.
There wasn't really a whole. They weren't. I feel like they also weren't working the right limbs long enough. Like most of the time when they were going after the legs, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was mostly their finishers or something, but they weren't really like picking them apart. I mean, you had Charlotte doing the half crab in the beginning, but other than that, there wasn't really too many. There wasn't really enough working of the right limbs. Like you wanted to see them really like go after working the knee, but they didn't do that. I mean, otherwise, I thought it was a fine match, but there just could have been a couple of nuances that could have been a little bit better. I should be an agent, but I'll probably get killed by all the actual agents because they'll be like, "You never did this before. Go away."
We already talked about the main event.
We did already talk about the main event, but again, just to drive home the point, really good match. The build was pretty good. There was a lot of drama elements. Just again, the finish should have been a little bit more concise. We should have gotten a turn, or at least, I mean, we all know what's coming, or what hopefully is coming, which would be Finn Balor coming and them actually being the Balor Club. I'm assuming that that's what angle they're driving home. But if that's the case, they should have drawn it. They should have built it up a little bit more. I mean, if it's only if at this point, let's just assume that it's going to be Money in the Bank because it's after the new NXT Takeover special. So it's already going to be a few weeks after that. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that Balor is going to debut at Money in the Bank. All they really needed was some way to continue the feud, or maybe just have, or maybe they could have even just had, like they could have had the brothers come in and actually help AJ beat Roman Reigns. I mean, if for shenanigans were like that or anything like that, and have AJ kind of be heelish, like maybe not being a full heel, but just being like, yeah, I'll accept your help, and him actually winning the title, having the title for a good month, but Rollins coming in also, or Rollins even be, or let's just say whatever happens the way that it does, but instead of after the match, Rollins pedigrees Reigns at the end of the match and costs Reigns the title. And then you have AJ doing his thing, partying with the club and whatever for about a month, because this doesn't turn AJ at all. This just kind of like, yeah, he took advantage of the situation, and it wasn't really because of help of his boys. It was help from the guy that nobody expected. And then we have Rollins come in the following night and say, that's great that you've got the title now, but I still never lost it, so I should get my rematch anyway. And then we have a triple threat match at Money in the Bank. And then you have Balor come with the remainder. You have the club come out to, basically help Styles, or seemingly to help Styles. You see the lights go out. Balor comes out in the suit, stands outside of the ring, or at least or maybe even from the entrance ramp, looks down at Gallows and Anderson, points at AJ, does the too sweet thing or whatever they want to make him do, and the club beats the hell out of they beat the hell out of AJ. Makes him a major babyface. And then, after all this, let's just say Reigns would spear him and get the title back. Fine. Like, good way to do it. Unfortunately, it's not what they're going to do, but I think that would have been a solid way to do it.
Yeah, I would kind of hope they do something with this, but I have a feeling the WWE is just gonna ignore the club storyline, and then when the brand split happens, they're gonna end up on 2 different shows. So it's like, oh well, whatever.
Hopefully
I guess
not.
that was the story.
Hopefully not. But, we'll see. There's still a lot of potential, but I feel like this has to happen. Like, so whatever they're planning on doing has to happen at, like, within the confines of the next pay-per-view. Because anything after Money in the Bank, no one is going to care about it. The water cooler talk has already died down. The interest is basically lost because they just kind of tucked their tails between their legs and went home instead of delivering a big beating, which was what should have happened on Raw.
And plus, then after Money in the Bank, you have the brand split, and so the focus is going to be on that instead of who's going to end up where, as opposed to the current storylines.
Right. So this has to happen now. Within the next, if this doesn't happen, if they don't have Balor align himself with the club or whatever they're gonna call it, or if they don't do this Balor Club thing by Money in the Bank, then it's completely then they've already killed it before it's given a chance to even walk.
Yeah, they need to pull the trigger. Intended.
Yes, they do need to pull the trigger on the Bullet Club. And that's all that we've got for today on Manopera. I've been Chris.
I've been Spankman.
Spankman. That could be another gimmick.
Spankman. Oh yeah! Every time a wrestler's naughty, here comes the Spankman.
with a giant fraternity paddle.
If we can have No Way Jose, we can have the Spankman.
Yes, your vignette could have you backstage in like a dark room wearing a gimp mask with a collection of paddles.
I just started talking like Jasper from The Simpsons.
Oh Jesus!
That's paddling.
that would be your line. That's a paddling.
That's a paddling.
I could see it right now. Like, oh, use it. Getting yourself DQ'd. That's a paddling.
That's a paddling.
Using the ropes to your advantage. That's a paddling. You better watch out, because the next time you turn around, you might get spanked. Wow, that's actually that's actually not bad.
That sounds like something that should have happened in the Attitude Era.
I'm surprised that didn't happen. oh, great, now you're dying.
Yup, I between accusing Ric Flair of being Hitler and the Spankman.
Alright, it sounds like Vince is unleashing poisonous gas into your home. I'd rather him not do it to me, so we should end this.
Alright, I'm Spaceman Frank Dudley.
And I'm Chris Butera. and if Vince's toxic gases don't get to both of our houses, then we will see you in a few weeks.
Yeah.
If not, then we died.
Yup. Remember us as heroes.
Bye-bye.